pot. That's the way to learn Chinese. Chinese pot, Chinese pot.
Hi everyone, welcome to Chinese Pod. My name is Gwilyn.
Hi everyone, this is Fee.
Today's lesson is all about numbers and talking about approximations.
So in today's lesson, this person is asking them, how many Americans do you have in your company? How many Korean people do you have in your company?
Okay, so we're going to learn phrases like quite a few, not that many, about, approximately, that kind of thing.
Right, well, let's head straight into the dialogue. 对话第一遍。
你的公司美国人多吗？
不少，差不多10个。不过日本人很多，超过20个。
韩国人呢？韩国人也很多吗？
韩国人不太多，不到5个。
人数最多的是哪国人呢？
印度人最多，大概40个左右。
第二遍。
你的公司美国人多吗？
不少，差不多10个。不过日本人很多，超过20个。
韩国人呢？韩国人也很多吗？
韩国人不太多，不到5个。
人数最多的是哪国人呢？
印度人最多，大概40个左右。
第三遍。
你的公司美国人多吗？
不少，差不多10个。不过日本人很多，超过20个。
韩国人呢？韩国人也很多吗？
韩国人不太多，不到5个。
人数最多的是哪国人呢？
印度人最多，大概40个左右。
Oh my God.
What's wrong?
Look at this. A legal letter. See? They claim that our product name and website infringes on their trademark.
But we have a registered website and a domain name. But did you ever file a trademark?
They are actually demanding that we sign over our domain name.
Did you know that not having a trademark registration is not only important for the brands and trade names you use for your goods and services, but also for your website? Don't risk losing your domain name and social media pages because of a trademark dispute. The Trademarkers Network of intellectual property attorneys can file your trademark reliably and also give you guidance if someone else before you has filed or registered a trademark with your brand. Go to www.trademarkers.com today to make sure you get the brand protection you deserve.
Translations.
你的公司美国人多吗？
Are there lots of Americans in your company?
你的公司美国人多吗？
Are there a lot of Americans in your company?
不少，差不多10个。不过日本人很多，超过20个。
There's quite a few, about 10, but Japanese colleagues are the most, exceeding 20.
不少，差不多10个。不过日本人很多，超过20个。
There are not a few. There's around 10, but Japanese people are the most. They exceed 20.
韩国人呢？韩国人也很多吗？
How about Koreans? Are there also a lot of Korean people?
韩国人呢？韩国人也很多吗？
And Koreans? Are there lots of them?
韩国人不太多，不到5个。
Not too many Koreans, less than 5.
韩国人不太多，不到5个。
There are not too many Koreans, not exceeding 5.
人数最多的是哪国人呢？
Which is the largest nationality?
人数最多的是哪国人呢？
Which nationality has the largest number of people?
印度人最多，大概40个左右。
The Indian people are the most prevalent, with around 40 or thereabouts.
印度人最多，大概40个左右。
Indians are the most, with around 40 or thereabouts. Okay, so we've just learnt lots of nationalities and ways to describe how many people.
First we hear 美国人
American, US.
And the one pronunciation tip here is to always remember to really dip down with that 美国人
Next we hear Japanese people.
日本人 日本人
So that's an RI, so you've got to do that kind of.
日
Next we hear 韩国人.
Yeah, it sounds like a bit of a tongue twister, right? Because of the 3-second tone. So remember you're going, 韩国人. Now, if you want to be specific, you can say 他是南韩人.
That's South Korean.
Or 他是北韩人.
That's North Korean.
北韩.
North Korea,
南韩.
South Korea.
That's right. And then finally we hear Indian. 印度人.
YIN fourth tone, DU fourth tone.
And if we remove the 人, then we have all the names for the country. So we have 美国,
The US,
日本,
Japan,
韩国,
Korea,
印度.
India.
That's right. Okay, so now that we've got the nationalities out of the way, let's talk about these ways to describe numbers and approximations. So after they hear the question, do you have a lot of Americans in your company? They say, quite a few. And how do we say that?
Well, it's actually a double negative. They say not
few.
Not few.
Yeah. So 不少, SHAO. So 不少.
This is the same 少 as 多少钱.
And you could also say 不多, not a lot, or not a few, right? Depending on what you want to say. 你们公司的美国人多吗? And if there's only one or two, you could say
不多.
And if you've got quite a few, you could say
不少.
And how many do we have?
We've got around 10. So this is the most common way to say around
About,
approximately.
yeah. 差不多. 差不多. And literally that means to not be so far off of X number, right? It's about 10.
Yeah, so when you're talking about numbers, it means that, like around, thereabouts. Or you could describe things being kind of average. And if you want a really good rap song all about 差不多, there's a good MC
Yeah.
Hot Dog, MC
Yeah.
Rego.
Highly recommend that.
We'll put a link in the description.
Next, we hear a nice soft way to say but. Not B-U-T-T.
Yeah,
but
soft butt.
a B-U-T but. Okay, so that's 不过. 不过. But there's quite a few Japanese people. 不过日本人很多. And how many do we have? We have over 20. 超过20个.
Okay, so 超过, first tone, fourth tone means to exceed, and then you say the number. So it exceeds 20.
So let's quickly do a mini recap now. So how do we say around about? So we're not too far off this number.
差不多.
差不多, that's exactly right. And then how do we say to exceed?
超过.
超过, 没错, Gwilym. Next we hear the way to say not too many because the person asks, how about Koreans? 韩国人呢? 韩国人也很多吗? Do you also have a lot of Koreans? They say, we don't have that many Koreans. And how do we say that?
不太多.
Very good, Gwilym. You remembered the tone change rule. So remember if you're saying 不太多, the 不 turns into a 不太多. 韩国人不太多.
And that's literally the same as English. You say literally, not too many.
Exactly. Literally broken down exactly the same. 韩国人不太多. Next we hear this 不到5个. What does that mean?
Okay, so 到 means to arrive, to get to a certain point.
Or to reach?
So if you're not reaching that point, it probably means not exceeding.
Exactly right. 不到5个.
Now I've got a question. So do you think this means it does not exceed 5? Like there are less than 5 people?
Exactly. It does not exceed 5. There's not as many as 5 people.
Okay, well how about another situation where you could use this 不到?
Okay. Something that immediately comes to mind. Maybe you could say, this person gets drunk even before they drink 2 drinks, 2 beers, right? 他喝不到2杯啤酒就会醉.
He doesn't need to drink even 2 beers before he gets drunk.
没错.
Now we hear a noun for amount of people.
人数. 人 literally is people, the same 人 as 美国人, 日本人, 韩国人, 印度人. And the number is 人数. 数字的数.
Don't get confused by the word population. This means number of people, but it's not population, which
Yes.
is
人口. 人口 is the proper noun for population, literally when we're talking about the population of a country. But when you're talking about how many people are in a company or how many people are in your class, this would be the term. So maybe you could say, 桂lâm你中文班的人数有多少?
How many people are in your Chinese class? Now, this is a more formal way of saying how many people.
So, because I could just say, 桂lâm你中文班里面有几个人? How many people are in your class? But maybe if I want to speak in a more formal term, I would say 人数. 人数有多少?
Yeah, so they ask which nationality has the most people. So how do you say which nationality?
哪国人? 国 is country, 人 is people, 哪 being which, 哪国人.
Now, often in speech, you'll maybe hear this na spoken as
哪 because you often combine the number one, 哪一国人. So, 哪一国人, 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 哪国人.
Yeah, so just to clarify, when you want to say which nationality, you could either say 哪国人 or 哪国人.
When you'll hear this most often is when someone's asking you which country are you from. 桂lâm你是哪国人? Or 桂lâm你是哪国人?
I guess the second way of saying it is just more colloquial, maybe slightly easier to say.
Because language always goes towards what's easier for the tongue, right? If you're having to pause or stop, you'll see language automatically lean towards an easier pronunciation. So you can imagine 哪国人 being a bit trickier to say than 哪国人. It's a bit easier on the mouth.
Now, the largest amount of people are the Indian colleagues.
印度人最多，大概40个左右. There's two very interesting terms here.
Okay, so earlier we learnt 差不多, which means approximately, thereabouts. Here we hear another word for approximately.
大概, about. I'm guessing there is.
Yeah, when I first learnt this word, I pictured a big guy. 大概. And I kind of that's just a stupid way to learn it. And also this word, left, right.
左 is left. 右 is right. And when you put it together, it means thereabouts. You can imagine your hand kind of going left to right. There's about 40 Indian colleagues in my company. 大概40个左右.
So I think this little phrase is a great one to memorize because you get two really good ways to say approximately in one. Now I've got a question. In English, you can say, there are approximately 10 people, or you can say there are 10 people approximately. Now with 大概, am I correct in saying you have to put it at the start of the sentence rather than 10个人大概?
That's an excellent question, Gwilym. 大概 always goes at the start. So maybe you can imagine the big guy always stands at the front of the queue. We're really grasping at straws for this memory technique. But yeah, 大概 always goes at the start. So you always say, 我们公司大概有5个美国人. Oh, sorry, just one extra point. It always goes at the front of the number. Doesn't necessarily go at the start of the sentence, but it always goes at the beginning of the number. So 大概40个. And this 左右 always goes at the end
of the number.
That's right.
So as well as numbers, you could use this for distance. So how far to school? You could say approximately.
大概3公里左右吧.
Approximately 3 kilometers or thereabouts.
You can also use this for time. How long does it take to bake a cake?
I have no idea.
大概半个小时左右.
Nice.
That's about half an hour. But yeah, these two often go nicely together, right? When you're talking about approximation. So if you put 大概, put the time, the distance, or the number that you're talking about, and then kind of sandwich it with 左右, a great way to talk about numbers and approximations.
Okay, well, I think we've learnt enough now. So how about we listen to the dialogue 3 times and then we'll have a quick recap or conclusion at the end.
好的.
So you want to learn traditional or simplified characters?
Can I just learn to speak Chinese? I really don't want to write or read. It's too much for me.
Are you one of the learners that told us early on that you just want to speak and listen to Chinese and you think Chinese characters are way too complicated? Then I really think you should check out our new introduction into how to read and write Chinese characters. It focuses on simple characters that you encounter in a Chinese language environment every day. In 11 entertaining episodes, we set out to convince you that Chinese characters are actually quite easy, and we hope that you will soon share our excitement. Visit 88 characters on www.chinesepod.com/88 and give it a try. Or search for the first episodes on the Chinese Pod channel on YouTube. It's as simplified as that.
对话第一遍。
你的公司美国人多吗？
不少，差不多10个。不过日本人很多，超过20个。
韩国人呢？韩国人也很多吗？
韩国人不太多，不到5个。
人数最多的是哪国人呢？
印度人最多，大概40个左右。
第二遍。
你的公司美国人多吗？
不少，差不多10个。不过日本人很多，超过20个。
韩国人呢？韩国人也很多吗？
韩国人不太多，不到5个。
人数最多的是哪国人呢？
印度人最多，大概40个左右。
第三遍。
你的公司美国人多吗？
不少，差不多10个。不过日本人很多，超过20个。
韩国人呢？韩国人也很多吗？
韩国人不太多，不到5个。
人数最多的是哪国人呢？
印度人最多，大概40个左右。
So how do you say there's quite a few people?
You can say, 那边人还不少. There's quite a few people there. The feeling is just the same as in English, right? Why don't you just say there's a lot of people there? Because if I was in a park and I said, oh, look, Willem, there's a lot of people over there, right? That's just a simple fact. Willem, 你看，公园那边人很多. But if I say, oh, Willem, 你看，公园那边人不少. Look, Willem, there's actually quite a few people. So you're kind of expressing something that was contrary to what you originally thought, right? Oh, there's quite a few people, and there's actually quite a few Americans in my company. 在我公司里，美国人还不少.
Okay. Now, a great way to say about, thereabouts, or average.
差不多, and we learned a great little sandwich at the end of the dialogue, and that was 大概40个左右. 大概 something 左右.
Okay, well, I compel you to go listen to that MC Hot Dog song, Troubadour. I once spent quite a few days trying to memorize all the lyrics. Luckily, it repeats itself a lot.
But nonetheless, there's lots of interesting number terms that you can learn from today's lesson, so we really encourage you to go through the dialogue, maybe read it out, and then listen to the dialogue a couple more times.
Okay, well, we hope you enjoyed today's lesson, and we'll see you guys next time.
好，那我们就下次见，再见。
As usual, Chinese Pod provides an extensive selection of learning materials for this lesson on its website, www.chinesepod.com. You can access this lesson directly with the lesson number 4002. So just go to www.chinesepod.com/4002 and you will find a transcript, vocabulary, and much more. The link again, www.chinesepod.com/4002.
Chinese Pod, Chinese Pod.